Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome again to Fairfield Today. I'm Paul Jasson, your host. Thank you for joining us. This is actually our first show, even though we're more toward the middle of the month. This is our first new show of 2021, so we're excited to be back. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. I may be the last person to wish you that if you had a nice Christmas and a good New Year. So anyway, we're now officially Fairfield Today into 2021, and I've heard a lot of people talk whether we know snow's coming, and whether it's sleet, whether it's cold weather, whether it's awful, everybody's ready. Everybody will face that. If it means moving into the new year and pushing out the old, bringing in the new, everybody is ready. So we're hoping and praying for a good 2021. Thanks to the good folks here, of course, at Fairfield Federal. Their lobby is closed down. You can get in by appointment. Drive-throughs are all open. That's the way that all is working. We'll talk a little bit about that more a bit later. But anyway, thanks to them for letting us in here. And as we begin 2021, I thought a good way to start out would be talk about taxes. And I saw a good line the other day. Somebody had a billboard up and it says, "I'm excited about doing my taxes." No one ever said that, except an accountant maybe, but no individual ever said that. So it's my pleasure to have back with me this year. First of maybe several visits we'll have in 2021. Tim Oatney, Oatney and Associates, the big nice office there on 6th Avenue. And Tim, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
As we look back at 2020, just as an overview, we got a lot of things to talk about, but had to be crazy in your world too.
It is a crazy world, that's right. I mean, obviously for us and for the individuals, but even more so for the businesses. Because the businesses, obviously they had to shut down, some of them. And then we had all these loan programs that they could apply for. And of course some did, some didn't. And then, what would I give you? About 6 tax bills have been signed this year.
Yeah, I saw that. Changes tax laws. That's astronomical.
Yeah, right. And they affect, in some way or another, everybody, not just businesses, not just individuals, but everybody. Because there's just small things in each one of those bills that. And then they made some retroactive, so it gets even crazier. So that's where we are.
Well, it's as he indicated, he gave me a little list. It's probably got about 8 or 10 tax changes in the laws from last year to this year as we move forward. So it's just a crazy year out there in the world of taxes. And we'll talk about kind of the way Oatney and Associates are doing things into the new virtual year. Everybody understands that. We're just talking to the folks here at the bank, and it's a virtual banking world sort of now. Yep. We'll talk to Tim about how that affects the accounting world too. But man, we've got a bunch of questions we want to get through, and like I say, this will be the first of a few of these we'll do. So we appreciate your being on.
Sure.
And one of the things I think we all at least in our minds, was that big $900 billion COVID relief bill. Back in December, actually, it seemed like so far away, but it was only a month or so ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right. Tell us some of the highlights of that.
Well, of course, for individuals, the highlight that they heard was $600.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
Now, then of course you hear the flip side of, well, it's only $600.
Yeah.
Now, I understand, but if you go back to the first one was $1,200.
Per person.
Per person who qualified.
Right.
Okay. But then it was $500 for each child who qualified. This time it's $600 for the adults and $600 for each of the kids.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
So, no, because, you don't have any children that you have this for. Okay. Yeah. And so, I talked to a family of 3 children and a family of 5, so they're getting $3,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's not $600.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I think people didn't put the pencil to the paper to figure this out yet. Now, they are working on a new tax bill.
Yes.
Of course, right now, they got to get through the inauguration and do all this other stuff before probably anything will pass. But they already have an acronym for it. It's called a cash bill.
Oh.
To give you the rest of that $2,000.
Yes.
We'll see. We'll see how
Yeah,
that
I
flows.
guess that'll determine as we move into different people in charge and
Right.
different thinking among out there. Okay.
So we'll see how that floats. Okay.
So as you talked about, the original one was 1,200. What was it? 500 per kid.
500 a kid.
This one was 600, but for everybody. Well,
600,
how will they determine who gets that?
Well, right now they're looking at your 2019 tax return, because remember when this started, you were in the middle of filing your 2019 tax return.
Yes.
So they looked at your 18 or 19 if you had already filed. Now the 19 year is over officially, so they're only going to look at your 19 tax return. And they're going to see, okay, Paul, you and your wife, okay, 2 people, no dependents. Okay, so you get $600 a piece if you qualify for all the income limitations. But if you had a family of 5, like this one I was talking about, well, they'll get to $3,000.
Yes.
And if you file direct deposit, these people already have their money.
Really?
This is already done.
Really?
These people have money already.
Wow.
Then, of course, people on Social Security and those kind of places that maybe they didn't have to file because their income was below the threshold.
Yes.
Well, they'll automatically go through the Social Security list, and they'll send those people automatically their 600 or whatever amounts of money that they were due. So that's how this is going to work.
And I did know some people had already, under direct deposit, I know they were going to be the first ones.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize checks.
Yeah,
to
checks
some,
are out.
Checks are out
gone.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, probably the retail stores should like it.
Yeah, well, imagine. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. How's this pandemic work with unemployment compensation?
Unemployment, of course, back in March, April, they extended and gave people this additional $600 a week. Well, then that expired here in December.
Yeah.
And so now they have reinstated it, but it'll only be $300 a week. And it does end in March, I believe.
March 14?
14, somewhere in there.
Yep.
It will, and so it's only extended for the next, 75 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not yet, about 60 days now.
Yeah.
So, and how that's going to work, I guess I'm going to say it's automatic. Probably go back and look at the same people and start sending checks.
So that's how's it going to affect the employers?
Well, how it affected them last summer,
Yeah.
people don't want to get a job.
You've
Tell
heard
you the
some of
truth.
those stories.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You perhaps
I
saw
can make
some
more
of that.
money sitting on unemployment. Why should I apply
A boss
for a job?
couldn't get somebody to come back
That's
because
right.
Sally said, I don't want to come back yet.
That's right. Now, on the flip side, you see, the reality is going to hit the fire here in about 2 more weeks.
I like the way you cleaned that up a little bit. I've heard another version of that, but continue.
So in another 2 weeks, when these same individuals are going to file their 1040s,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they find out they got to pay tax on all that unemployment they got. And to some of those individuals, they always qualified in the past for earned income tax credits and these other tax. Well, they'll now have made too much money and they won't get their tax credit. So my comment to you before we went on the air, see, all these tax acts affected everybody in some fashion. And in my opinion, they're going to need more CPAs this year than they've ever needed.
And one of my comments to Tim before we went on the air was one thing you haven't heard this year was, the accountants are going to be out of it because everybody will be doing their own taxes. I haven't heard one person say that this year. Not one.
Not this year. No. So this is going to be a real trying year. Fortunately for us, we're fully staffed and ready to go. And as long as we can keep ourselves healthy, we can keep working, which is, then you lead into the virtual world. Yes, we have, like the bank here, closed our door. We're doing everything virtual. You can drop it off in a Dropbox. You can send it to us over the emails. You can whatever, and then we have Zoom calls to talk to you about the results and/or phones. Okay, that's how we're doing business.
Yeah.
It's the new way.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Well, it could be the way for a while, but we'll talk about that. I want to talk about how business is being done now when we get to, well, we got a couple minutes here, and we got so much to get to we want to get to, but, and we'll have you back, but that's the way business from your world now, at least in your firm. It's a pretty good sized firm. Everything is done virtually. Drop off, PDF files. Everything is that way.
Has to be.
Yeah.
For the safety of me, myself, and our employees, and
the people.
That's right.
People don't want as much contact. I was just talking to Matt here at the bank before we went on, and now as you indicated, the lobby is closed here, and he says, I hope people understand. Well, I think everybody understands now. Everybody knows that this is the new normal. Whatever that is, that's where we are. So,
but they expect us to all have a plan, which now we do. We didn't have one back in March.
Well, very few people did.
Well, I mean,
you've got a few months to think about it now.
We have now, yes.
Yeah.
So we've got things in place.
It's interesting. So again, we had 2 or 3 pages of questions, and it's just so much to get to. So our plan will be to get you back here, and we'll get you back on because there's so much going on with taxes. People want to know what's happening. So Oatney and Associates, what's your address down there?
121 East 6th Avenue.
And not that maybe, well, you have to know it if you're going to drop it off, but what's your email and your phone number?
Well, our website is oatneycpa.com.
Okay.
Phone number 740-687-1192.
Okay. Tim Oatney is with us today. We just, I don't even know if we've scratched the surface. We've gotten to scratching the surface. Maybe that's all we are. But we get Tim back. Tim, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Keep it together here for another few months. We'll see how it all works out. Very good.
All right.
We'll be back on Fairfield Today in just a moment.
Fairfield Medical goes the extra mile to give attention to their patients, to their guests, anybody that comes within those doors.
There's no question that the staff there are all personally invested in seeing that I got the best care possible.
The staff was so comforting. I felt like she was in the best hands.
They basically gave me a second chance at life, and I'm going to make the most of it.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area where the fountain is and the memorials and the flags and all this stuff. And we looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Well, as Tim Oatney indicated just a moment ago, crazy world in the CPA world, the world of taxes. We'll get Tim back on at least a couple more times and kind of talk things through a little bit. There's just so much activity going on with how the pandemic changed things in the world of employers and employees and compensations. We'll get Tim back on and talk more about that. And again, a reminder here we're in the downtown lobby, of course. They had to let us in because it's all locked up, but you can get in. You can call the Fairfield Federal. You can make an appointment and then you can come in, but of course the drive-throughs are open all the time. That's the same here and West Side and up in Pickerington. So those are the rules. So everything is available online. You can get all the information you want, fairfieldfederal.com. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and it's always fun to talk about nonprofits in town. We have so many great nonprofits, so many great museums, and one of them is kind of the overseer on several of them is the Heritage Association. We've got Mary Lawrence with us. Mary's marketing director. Mary, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Surviving this unusual COVID times.
Yes, we are.
Yes, it's as we look at in your world in terms of all the things you deal with in terms of the Heritage Association. What's been kind of the overview on how this is all gone?
Well, it really hit us hard
Yeah.
because we had to cancel most of our events for last year, and including the home tour, which had been over a half century that we hadn't had some kind of tour, a home or garden tour.
Sure.
So that was a big change, and then we had to cancel a lot of our other events. So to survive, our director, Tammy Drabina, came up with the great idea of having a telethon. And the community really came through on that, and we just shattered our goals. We were hoping to raise $35,000, and we raised far more than that. And so fiscally, we're going into 2021 a lot healthier than we might have been, because our tours are down because we've limited the number of people who can tour the museum.
Mm-hmm.
We set them on the hour, which also limited the number of people who could come in. And of course, a lot of people aren't touring because of COVID.
Sure.
So we just had to remake what we did and try to do it as safely as possible. So we limited our tours to 8 people a tour. You have to wear a mask from beginning to end, and our docent and receptionist wear masks. If you
Sure.
don't have one, we have them for a buck donation. And we clean things, and so at no time is there more than 10 people in the area. These aren't big buildings. The Sherman House certainly isn't. So you certainly can't,
Yes.
there's no reason to make it risky. And so with 8 people at a time, and then they move on and the next group comes, we feel like we've been responsible as far as our touring was going. So we reopened the museums. We were supposed to open April Fool's Day, which should have told us all we needed to know right there. So we had to cancel our April 1st opening, and we opened at the end of June. And then we just closed in mid-December for the season, and our hope is to reopen the Tuesday after Easter, which I believe is April 6th, COVID willing. We'll just have to see. So that's how we controlled it there through our museums. And of course it was a challenge because a lot of our volunteers didn't feel like they should volunteer in this, and most of our volunteers are from the high-risk group, and we didn't blame them a bit. So we did the museums that way. We had this super telethon in the middle of September. Our logo was Sherman on a candlestick phone that a Sherman fan, Jen Rowling, who's a commercial artist, designed for us. And this was Tammy's idea, and Tammy did all the groundwork.
Sure.
And so with organization, she had most of it pre-taped, so we didn't have to do as much live as some people might, or as I feared. Like, what are we doing? And she had it all planned out and weeks in advance, and then she and other people did the fundraising work ahead of time. Fran Miller, who always runs our fair booth, couldn't do our fair booth, which which makes us about $5,000 a year. And so she went out and fundraised. She went after her brother. She went after Dave Levacy. She went after, she said, I told Leonard Gorsuch, give me a check for $1,000. And as we know, no one says no to Fran, and she came running back
That's
with
not
that.
a knock. You're always one on your door.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Fran Miller, and I'm from the Heritage. Okay.
Yeah, or Red Cross, or any of her many.
That's right.
The Christmas parade.
Yeah.
So she raised several $1,000s for us, and just people pitched in because they knew that it's our fundraising that keeps our doors open. We don't get the bed tax or any other supplement. We occasionally get grants, and we got some PPE grants, the payroll protection grant, and we got some others that helped us buy the equipment we needed to do what we needed to do. But that's what saved our bacon. And it was Tammy Dravino who did it, and we're thinking about doing it again this year.
Well, I think people are finding out that hopefully sooner rather than later we'll move past all this. But I think what a lot of people are finding out, and you were talking about how well you did in the telethon, and talking with other folks from, say, the Fisher Catholic Bit of Luck, who had to do that. Big Brothers and Big Sisters did it, and you are 3 examples of they did way better than what they intended it and even hoped.
Yes.
Because no one knows what you're going to get into on this.
No.
But all those, and I'm sure many others that I'm not aware of, maybe this will be in some way the new norm.
It very well could be, because it's going to take a while to get our arms around it.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we have adapted some events for that.
Sure. And we've got some of this coming up. We'll talk about that. Valentine Tea to go.
Yes.
On Valentine's Day, coming up here in a month. It's going to be different.
It's going to be different. Well, we found, since our last indoor tea was in February, just before the lockdowns.
Yeah.
We were very lucky. We got our Sherman birthday 200 in, and we got the Valentine's Day. But that was our last indoor event.
Yes.
And so in the fall, they said, well, let's try a tea to go, a drive-through tea. And we're like, don't know how that's going to go.
Everybody just has to outside the box.
Right, because what part of the attraction to the tea is dining in this 1833
very
mansion.
Elegant,
it's very elegant.
Nice.
So, but our brilliant steering committee at the Georgian Museum, which is now led by Mark Taylor and with support from Joyce Harvey, who retired as director.
Yes.
They put together these boxes of goodies, much like we serve at a Georgian tea. And they decorated the boxes, and it's got pretty stuffing and all this stuff. And so everybody who bought a ticket, it was $20 instead of our usual $35. They bought a ticket, and we had a tent set up in the driveway, and our steering committee were out there in their masks and with hot tea brewing. And they met the drivers, gave them their boxes, gave them their hot Georgian tea, and off they went.
And they went.
And it went so well. And we had people who never go to our teas who bought some boxes, and they said, it was like Christmas. We sat home, we opened our boxes, we're keeping the boxes, we want to do that again. So on Valentine's Day, between 1 and 3 p.m. is our tea. And now we have to have tickets sold by February 8th.
Okay, so we've got just a couple weeks to get on that.
Just a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And that's so we know how many to make. And then we're also offering to deliver anywhere in Fairfield County for $5.
Only $5.
Only $5. So you could have, a friend or two over or family, and we can deliver 4 or 5 boxes of tea, and it'd still only be $5 more for the whole batch. And so it looks to be a lot of fun. We sold a lot before Christmas, because they were the perfect stocking stuffers and the perfect gift. And so we're continuing to sell. And the nice thing is, husbands, spouses, if you want to have a little treat, but you're not sure you're going to be able to go out,
sure,
have us come and deliver a little Valentine love.
How nice is that?
Yes.
How nice is that? Woohoo!
Yes. Yeah.
Mary Lawrence is with us. Mary is with the Heritage Association doing marketing, directing, and I guess let's say in another year when February comes up again and we have the Valentine's tea, you'll certainly make every effort to have it inside again, but it's good to know in your hip pocket.
Yes.
That and what I think we see around now is, a year ago nobody knew, or maybe almost a year ago now, nobody knew what was when this happened. How do we handle it? Well, now everybody's got a little history.
Yes.
And you feel a little more confident now
Yes.
that if you have to go to a plan B, there is a plan B and it's successful.
Right. And the other part of our adjustments is we're putting more history online on our Facebook post for Fairfield County Heritage Association.
Probably seeing more response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sherman House
Yeah.
Museum and the Georgian Museum. And so we're taking stories and putting them online that normally we might save for another day or another format. But we're talking history to you as much as possible,
Sure.
sometimes several times a day. One of the things I recently posted was a clipping from the Lancaster Daily Gazette from 1850 that was a little ad about getting your fare from New York to San Francisco. And of course the gold rush was a big deal. And if you got yourself to New York City on January the 13th, a U.S. mail packet or mail steamer would take you down to Panama, and then they'd get you across the isthmus somehow, and you caught another steamship called the Isthmus, and it'd take you to San Francisco.
Wow.
And first class fare was $300, which was well more than a year's salary for most people who generally made under
The
$1 a day.
expectation was to be a 49er. And,
Yes, you were going to make it big.
Yeah.
And the lowest was about $200.
Yeah.
And take you about 8 weeks to get to the gold fields, but it'd take you 6 months to try to cross country.
Traverse it.
So we try to give people insights into what's going on then, and give you some history online for free.
What's your website? I don't know if I have it or not.
It's www.fairfieldheritage.com.
Lots of information on there. It's a great website. Give Tammy Dravina, your president, our best. And I know it's been kind of a difficult time for her recently, so tell her we miss her and hurry back. But picking her brain is amazing. She does a lot of good things.
Oh, my.
Boy, the directors you've had there, if you look at Joyce and her, have been
We've
wonderful
been
people.
blessed with some
Yes.
great directors.
Well, you're doing a great job with marketing, Mary Lawrence from the Heritage Association. So as we move into good luck with your tea.
Thank you.
Sounds like it's going to be awesome.
I think so.
I think so. Thanks, Mary Lawrence, being here with the Heritage Association. Thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.